How's everybody doing? Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Clifton Raheem Bradley of Shema Media Productions. And today, I'm going to give you a synopsis of the show. We're going to look at the commonalities between the conflict of what is going on in the Ukraine and Russia, and hoping that it doesn't lead to a third world war, and hoping that it does not lead to a nuclear holocaust. I don't want to see that, because we would cease to exist if something like this happened. And you know what? I have distinguished guests coming on. I have Dr. Lee Warren coming on of Clem Power Laden Man, and Dr. Penny Warren of Clem Power Laden Man coming on to look at the similarities, the contrasts, and comparisons between what went on during the Cuban crisis and what is going on right now in the Ukraine. And there's a parallel. There is a parallel that average person they may not sit down and really analyze that, but I sit down and read some articles, and I'm just waiting on Dr. Lee Warren to come in and share this broadcast. And you know what, if you see something wrong with the broadcast, please let me know, because the thing is, this is how the broadcast gets better. And what went on in Cuba? First of all, this will probably end up being like a two-part series. And I want to say thank you for all the people on YouTube. They get instructions about how to do green screen. And I also want to say thank you, shout out to Kennedy King College, where I'm a student, and Shema Media Productions. If you need that done in Chicago, Illinois, I shoot video production. But Cuba was just interesting to me, and I sat down and analyzed it, and I sat down and looked at a news article to try to see what are the similarities between what happened with the Cuban Missile Crisis and what's going on, and what is going on currently in the Ukraine. And you know what? You can take this and you can look back on history. It's like both of these guys on the left and the right, they're mad. And I think that it is justifiable that they are mad, that they are upset about what is going on. Because once upon a time, Cuba, what happened first of all, let me start with Kennedy and Khrushchev. What happened with Kennedy and Khrushchev is, the United States had actually, because Fidel Castro was in control of the government, what happened is they said, oh, we can't have that. And there was something called the Bay of Pigs, where they got Cuban nationalists to attempt to overthrow the government in Cuba, because they thought that it was, they believed that it would be hostile to the United States of America. They believed that. Okay. So, and for people that just don't know, Cuba and Florida, the distance is 90 miles. They failed in that attempt of the Bay of Pigs. They failed. That's something they did do. And what happened is Cuba is getting weapons or missiles from the USSR. I better not say Russia, because somebody will correct me. They was getting weapons from Russia. Like I said, you want to join in on a conversation, come and join us. And what happened is they was getting the weapons. Kennedy was furious. he was furious about this. He didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. He said, like, man, you know what? There's something called the Monroe Doctrine. Okay, whereas if someone puts weapons, I'm talking about, in the United States and Mexico's hemispheres, called the Monroe Doctrines, this is just not acceptable. And what happened is Khrushchev had missiles in Cuba. And President Kennedy, at the particular time, I think this happened in 1962. And what happened is Khrushchev, the premier of Russia, made an ultimatum that no weapons will be allowed in Cuba. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. You know, I just thought the big pigs was a takeover, but that's what happens when you do your research. And what happened is the nationalists that the CIA had trained during the Bay of Pigs, it failed. That's the first thing that happened. But then getting back to the missiles. And Kennedy was adamant. He was angered. He was mad. He was upset. And he warned. It was a stern warning that he warned the Soviet Union, Khrushchev, that, you know what, if those weapons are not removed, they're not removed, we're on the brink of a war. Okay. And they negotiate. They're negotiating. Now, a lot of people, somebody that's looking at this, they just may not know. Okay, I got Dr. Lee Warren. Hey, how you doing, Dr. Lee Warren?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I am doing great. And you know what I can't really hear you too well. Because
Can you hear me now?
You know what? You know what? Let me see. Turn this up.
Can you hear me now?
Let me turn this up. Go ahead and speak now.
Can you hear me now?
No, you know what? This just probably has something to do with my sound panel. And what I'm gonna do is oh boy. See, you know that's what happens when you get used to the stuff. And um see, I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me
Not at all.
now?
You turn it up. Go you speak now?
1, 2, 3.
Now I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. Okay. And you know what? With no further ado, I have Dr. Lee Warren of the Plum Power Lake Man. And it's appropriate for me to let him make an introduction of himself. He's a geopolitical strategist. He's an expert at what he does. And please tell us about yourself and your show.
Well, it's been about 30 years, I guess, 30 or 40 years on Plum. I'm the wife's co-founder. And we ministry, it's called the Power Latent in Man, meaning hidden within man. We have a discussion or lectures. Excuse me. You have to go to Plim 2, it's PLIM 2.org. Register there online. It's free. And we're on cable. We're on channel 36 from 8:30 to 9:30. Every went from 8:30 to 9:30. And Thursday from 10:30 to 11:30 on channel 36. And you can call on our Plum line is 773-509-8124. That's the telephone. You can contact us through our website. That's PLI2.org. Now we cover geopolitics from a biblical standpoint using a pattern and the book of Revelation. And we cover politics, you name it, we cover everything to make people conscious that it's the truth that's going to make you free. And if you don't receive the truth, then you're badly deceived propaganda that we are bombarded every day. And that means
you bombarded every day. Yes, sir.
Just like they tell you that Ukraine is, when you look at the news clips about Ukraine, and you want entirely bombed out all the infrastructure, no electricity, no gas, no lights. They tell you they win the war. Well, that's all propaganda. And that's so much, like they told you the vaccinations were safe. We found out that there was just so many lies that they have told. So, see, they just don't know which way to go. You got a third of the people have no knowledge of what's going on. A third of the people knows, about a third, a little bit less than a third knows what's going on. And the middle portion there that are just torn through and what's not true. So that's what you have today. You're in an era where deception is very keen, it's very high. As my disciples, let no man deceive you. And America has been deceived. They have been deceived.
Yes.
By the propaganda that the economy is improving, and you look out there, there's no jobs. They tell you that the wars that we have fought were for justice and liberty, and you find out there was just a bunch of the United States that's what created for the industrial military. So this is where we at. And things are not getting better. The economy, you name it.
Yes. And you know, Dr. Lee Warren, you know what, as I sat down and read some articles, I want to draw comparisons between what happened in Cuba and what's going on in Ukraine. I would like to ask you something about Cuba. What is the Bay Pigs? What is that all about? And why did they feel that they had to overthrow Cuba? I learned something out of my ignorance about the Bay of Pigs.
Well, see, the American people don't read. That's basically the problem. Is they sit there and watch the boob tube, ABC, NBC, the media, and it's, you ask many people what the Bay of Pigs is, and most people won't know. Well, that CIA operation set up by the CIA overthrow Castro.
Yes.
So Castro came into power. You had, I think it's what's his name? Spanish name. Anyway, he was
You're talking about Batista.
Batista, that's right, Batista.
Yeah.
And he was just an American vassal. He just did what they say. He was connected to the mafia. They had all the gambling by the mafia. So Castro then revolted to Batista's, and the CIA knew another overthrow of Castro. And they had this president, Kennedy, 35th president, of their plans. That and they set up these plans to invade Cuba. What it wasn't quite, how should I say? They basically had into going along with this operation, and operation fell apart because they were supposed to get Air Force and these were how should I say, Castro people that wanted to, and they had all got together the operation co-op, and when they went in there, they didn't get the report nor some other operation they had. The Bay of Pigs. When Kennedy found out about this, he wanted to break the CIA up into pieces. So that was the operation, the Bay of Pigs, and it was overthrow Castro. It was a CIA operation. And then later, what happened was bought in by Cuba. So
yes,
that's another story.
You know, my question is, okay, when which Cuba, Castro stayed in power, okay, and Khrushchev, they had missiles in Cuba, and you know what, which is 90 miles away from Florida. Why was President Kennedy emphatic about saying there would be no missiles in Cuba, which is 90 miles away from him? And because what happened is Cuba and Russia, they were allies. Can you explain that to me?
Well, Cuba has been allied. Castro was a communist. And Khrushchev, and later those missiles were installed there because Khrushchev and them today in Ukraine, see, to Russia. So it's only 5 missile time of flight to Moscow.
Yeah.
With missiles. So that you have in Russia and Ukraine, hypocritical policy by the Americans. They didn't want missiles in Cuba because of exit time for that missile. If the missile was in Cuba, it would only be about 5 minutes for, hit bases here in the United States.
Yes. And you know, a lot of people don't know during the negotiations, after they ended their confrontation, there were missiles that were taken out of Turkey before.
Oh yeah, that was missiles that had been based in Turkey against permission from Turkey to place those missiles there. The United States had missiles all around the world. And when he found out that there was missiles there, he demanded that Khrushchev remove them. It was a very tense situation there because he threatened Russia against Russia for those missiles. So they had a great, they had to removing those missiles, the United States, from Cuba.
Yes.
And so Khrushchev finally went along with discuss and stand down. That was the closest point since was the closest time we've ever been very close to a nuclear war. How many hours it was, how many days of negotiation that took place. Kennedy, diplomats, and the United States negotiate those missiles being removed from Cuba.
But
it was a very tense situation.
Go ahead. My question to you, Dr. Lee Warren, there is a Monroe Doctrine. Monroe Doctrine meaning by the United States that no foreign power like the United States, like Russia, that no foreign weapons can be used in this hemisphere. And do you think that's wrong, seeing as though Russia has allies with Venezuela and Cuba? But I'm going to go to Castro, and we'll go to something else next. The Monroe Doctrine.
Well, at the time, the doctrine was set up there by President Monroe, because remember, the United States was UNO power,
yes,
and nobody resisted them because they thought that this hemisphere, North and South America, was under their control, and they had the power to any nation, foreign nation, from coming into setting up bases in North and South America, South America and Mexico. That became a doctrine. But as soon as Russia became more powerful,
my question is, moving up from that, what happened is Reagan and Gorbachev, they negotiated a deal to end the Cold War. It's called the IMF, and in that doctrine, it said, when Ronald Reagan made the statement, tie down these walls in Germany, they negotiated. But in that negotiation, it said that no countries that annex or separated from the Soviet Union, these guys right here, with the bag where the bag is, can join NATO. And I want to ask you, is that true, what I read, or is it false?
Yes, it was true.
Okay.
At one time, Russia, but they were refused. Because remember, the United States had a hegemony over the whole world. Hegemony means world dominance, control, trade, and everything else between nations. So they dictated policy, and Russia to overthrow that. And so when Russia, those missiles in there, withdrew them, that wasn't in. It wasn't the end of the Cold War. The Cold War, I should say, that was the kind of the beginning of the Cold War. It didn't end until Reagan came in, and I forget. He was a 40th president. So when he came into office, negotiated the tearing down of the wall in Germany, between East Germany and West Germany, and consolidate. What he was doing was consolidating the division of World War II. See, Germany was divided up between East Germany, which is communist, and when Reagan came in, what he was reunite Germany, East and West. And that's when he told them to tear down that wall, treaties, missile treaties, to be signed.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, go ahead.
that
I'm
was
sorry.
the end of communism. Communism began to fall sometime after that.
Mm-hmm. As we discussed that what happened is during that IMF treaty that was signed, the United States putting missiles in Poland. Okay, and they said they were not long range and they could not reach Russia. Did the United States break that treaty?
Yes, they broke it in many ways. Not only did they see after Gorbachev's Union failed, USSR failed, they had agreed with U.S. and the European powers, Germany and France, those other countries, Lithuania, all these small countries that were a part of the empire.
Yes.
But they wouldn't be allowed to join NATO. That's what they agreed on.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, they went back on their word. White man speak with forked tongue. They went back. History came as of today. They are part of NATO.
Yeah.
Which Russia do that because you're infringing on our sovereignty. In other words, you're too close to us, as with Cuba. So they kept pushing, and that was a situation broke down. And hold on just a moment. There's water.
Okay. No, what he's talking about is just interesting. If you want to call in and share this broadcast, we're talking about the comparisons between what happened in the Bay of Pigs in Cuba and the Ukraine. But I'm gonna let he's back. So go ahead.
What happened was because they wanted those missiles right next to Russia. And overthrow of the Ukraine government, United States overthrew that government on lackeys, and that began. Started in 1940. I mean, and was it 2014? That's when the Ukraine war started, with the CIA causing confusion, government. And then rearming Ukraine weapons during that period.
Yeah.
And then we get down to 19. That's just 20 down to 2020. Russia decides to invade. Making the long story straight, they Ukraine because Ukraine was bombing Russians. That they wouldn't allow them to speak their own Russians. They were asking for autonomy with the Ukraine. They were bombing them, and Russia went in to prevent this genocide by the Ukrainian government. So that's how you got to where you are now.
You know what Dr. Lee wants? Go ahead.
They basically did the same thing as you pointed out that happened in Cuba with Khrushchev's missiles. The United States did the same thing to Russia, putting those So that's the situation, which most of them had no knowledge of the situation.
Dr. Lee Warren, is it not true that the United States of America, they trained people that were revolutionaries in Cuba, that were exiled from Cuba, and Russia has trained people inside of Ukrainian to start a proxy war, and maybe you can explain what a proxy war is.
Well, war in the case of Ukraine and Ukraine against Russia, the United States with all the weapons and military weapons that they need, and help for the government and their pensions. They're as a proxy to try try to overthrow Russia.
Yes.
Through Ukraine. That's what they believe. See,
yes.
That they can have the war is not between Ukraine and Russia and the United States and NATO. That's what the war is between. Because they're first.
Somebody doesn't know what a proxy war is. Can you explain it?
What that means? Somebody else is standing in this. Instead of you fighting them, you are hiring somebody else, put somebody else up to fight. Ukraine is fighting Russia, but really, the United States and Russia. So you a proxy.
Okay. And Dr. Lee Warren, I would like to ask you, with the United States supplying weapons to the Ukraine, and Ukraine being possibly included in NATO, okay, does not Russia have the same right to feel the same way that the United States felt about weapons being in Florida, 90 miles away, and Ukraine is on its border? Does not Russia have the same right to feel the same way? If I'm wrong or right, please tell me.
You're right. See, anytime the United States is furnishing weapons, so what they are in the war because they're sending military equipment by Russia. It's like it's like if I give you a gun, I'm a accessory to the fact.
Yes. So Russia has the right to feel that their sovereignty. I'm not going to say sovereignty because it's a communist nation. They have a right to defend, but yeah, I think it's an instance where they're being surrounded by NATO nations and they feel threatened and they're fighting for their life. And I don't agree with communism, but I think that is an aspect that is involved. If you could correct me if I'm wrong, let me know. Hello?
That's correct. That's correct. That this is a war between Russia and Ukraine. They should have had it worked. See, without the European powers coming in, saying what they were going to do. It was out not alive with the Maastricht Treaty. There's a treaty that's supposed to help resolve the situation, but what is a means by which they could stall Russia for a few while they build up Ukrainian military. That's what it was about. So that whole situation there is nothing more than in Cuba with Russia. So the United States has such a powerful prop that can overwhelm most nations in the world.
Yes.
It's always forefront. That is what masses of people believe. But now it's been broken down because Asia can see what's truly taking place since the war, and they put the sanctions on Russia.
Yes. And Dr. Lee Warren, I would like to pose this question to you that first of all, for people that are listening, I'm not a communist, and what we're doing is we're making a contrast and comparisons. I would like to ask you, Dr. Lee Warren, that Russia, I'm not going to say the USSR because that was broken up, but I would like to ask you if Russia made a conscientious decision, seeing as though they are allied with Venezuela, okay, and they're trading partners, and Cuba, and they decided to ship missiles to Cuba and Venezuela, which is almost in our hemisphere. What do you think the reaction of the United States would be, seeing as though they are allies?
Is that they would confront Russia of those missiles in this hemisphere.
Yes.
So it would resort to the same situation when Russia put those missiles in Cuba. It's a little bit different at this time because Russia is more than it was back in 1960.
Yes.
And then the allies that they have, it's China, Iran, and North Korea. A lot of these nations are beginning, and Iran, they're beginning to coalesce around Russia. These are that's in the east.
President Xi just made a visit, high-level visit to the Soviet Union to, I guess, to negotiate and to talk about issues. And do you feel at some point that China will be supplying more? At some point, they will supply lethal weapons to the USSR through a third party.
Yeah, well, it's not U.S.
I mean Russia.
Russia, okay. Russia is no longer communist. Yes, those two are going to come together, and the bear will come together because Russian enemy is the United States. So those two are going to come together to coalesce. Because eventually China is going to take Taiwan.
Okay. We got a pleasure. We got Professor Penny Warren on, his wife. And would you like to comment and please make an introduction of yourself?
Oh, she is here.
Oh, I can't hear her though. But does she? I thought she. Oh, I saw her come in though. Okay, but you know what, Dr. Lee Warren. Again, what time does your show come on? And I got two other questions for you.
Okay, our show comes on the Chicago cable only. It comes on every Wednesday. On Chicago cable, channel 36, and it's re-shown 6 for 10:30 to 11:30.
Dr. Lee Warren, I would
now
like
let me
to
say,
ask.
both of those shows on the internet at our site, to IM2 dot org. So if you don't have cable, then if you look at our site, that's PLIM, PLIM, the number 2, .org, you can see some of the shows that we have done in the past and currently from our classes on cable. And our cable show comes on from 8:30 to comes on every Thursday. From 8 to 10 p.m. and then from 1:30 to 3:30. That's on the webinar, free.
Okay, and Dr. Lee Warner, something I would like to ask you. What do you think should be? Ron DeSantis is the governor. He's the governor of Florida, and he made a statement the other day that is publicly known that the United States should not be involved in Cuba. I'm not Cuba. I'm sorry. The Ukraine should not be involved in the Ukraine. What's your sentiments about that? How do you feel about that?
Well, a lot of Republicans now are acknowledging that ever. So they are pulling back from giving a check and all these weapons forever. Because they know Ukraine cannot beat Russia. So primarily, it's what the Republicans are refusing now to since they got control of that. They are saying that they won't give Ukraine a blank. See, the Democrats already spent over $100 billion in and other aids to Ukraine. And the way Ukraine is destroyed, it'll take $1 trillion. Now, who gonna pay for this? Who have the money to pay for the $1 trillion rebuilding of Ukraine with all that? So it's going to be a big mess. The reason why the budget cannot be passed for the Democrats, because the country is deep in debt, and it's gotten now.
I'm listening.
So that's what you have today.
I can't even see you now, but Dr. Warren, what I would like to ask you that Vladimir Putin, by I think the IMF, they have made a determination that Vladimir Putin has committed war crimes and that with children being abducted. Do you just think that that's propaganda, or do you think that he has not committed war crimes as propaganda?
Well, in war, the fog of war, everything is come in and bomb a place. You got all these kids around. What Ukraine had offered to say, well, put these people in Russia since they bombed them. So they just took made they save kids. I mean, if you invade the air, you got all these kids around. The parents have been either killed or whatever. So these kids are running around. So they just did, since they started the war, the best thing that they could do was take those kids and give them safe comfort. And they didn't say that. They didn't put it in the news. They said they took them. Well, if you come into a place and bomb the hell out of it, it's all wrecked. Then what you gonna expect to do with them?
Yeah. But I mean, do you think that Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, that he should be indicted on war crimes?
Well, they doing everything to Putin as they did to Troy, little thing that they could do to try to charge him. And first, that.
Yeah, can't hear you. For some reason, his picture is frozen. And you know what? I will put him back in. Okay, Dr. Lee, I'm sorry. Okay.
I said that the court, that whole court of The Hague, of sitting arrest warrants out for Putin, it's not warranted. I mean, Russia says that court is not even has any status in Russia.
Yes.
In the first place, well, who gonna go get Russia? Who gonna go get Putin? In court?
Yes. And when we talk, when we say that, I would like to ask you, what do you think would be the best outcome for what is transpiring between NATO, the United States, and Russia and the Ukraine right now? What would be the best outcome?
Well, the best outcome is eventually happening. Is that Russia will, and the 20 or 30% of the territory they will keep. They become part of Russia. And for the peace treaty, see what's happening with Ukraine. Will to relinquish those territories that Russia took. Instead of the richest part of Ukraine, the oil, I mean the oil, you name it, it's all there that Russia conquered.
Yes.
Now they have conquered that, so they have to agree on. Has to agree, and Zelensky has to agree that or the territory is taken by Russia forever gone in that part of Ukraine. He said that we want all that back. Well, you lost it.
Yes. I mean, I'd like to ask you something, Dr. Lee Warren. You know what? Vladimir Putin keeps on using the word nuclear capabilities and the possibility of it being like a nuclear war. Do you think that he's out of line for that? Do you think he really means that? He's just bluffing?
I think he really means it. And remember, the only power actually used nuclear weapons was the United States in World War II, where they dropped 2 on Japan, Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
So he really means.
So they have used. Now they're gonna tell somebody else that don't tell us. You can't be. They kill thousands of folks. So that's a hypocritical stance that the United States is treading down.
I read reports that it was a nuclear submarine sitting in international waters off the coast of the United States, which you had a right to go in international waters without freedom. I'd like to ask you, Dr. Lee Warren, there is a presidential election that is coming up, and I would like to get your assessment who do you think will be a better steward, have better stewardship over the United States when it comes to conflicts? President Joe Biden or former President Donald Trump?
Maybe Trump, but I'd say maybe Trump. The situation has changed since he left office. Everything, see, the economy is screwed up, the banks are crashing, the economy is crashing. You got so many things that are happening here that if Trump came in, his hands are tied. Correct the situation. I don't think they can be corrected in 4 years. I think by the time the election comes, we'll probably be in a serious recession. And he has to face that.
Yes.
I wouldn't want that on my worst enemy because it's almost impossible because it went bad for so long. It's like having cancer for so long. You tried to treat it. Well, so why you wait so long?
Yes. And when you say that, I want to ask you probably one more question. You know what? Silicon Bank just failed, and what happened is they was bailed out by other banks. I would like to know, is that an example of things to come? Silicon Bank, what happened is it went into bankruptcy, and what happened is the other banks had to bail them out. And I don't understand the panic because you know what, their money is supposed to be insured, and when you your money is supposed to be diversified. Why did that happen with Silicon Bank? And is that an example of things to come in the United States banking system?
The whole banking system of the United Ponzi scheme is beginning to unravel because of the huge amount of debt already on the books. They can't pay it back. Just to pay it back. This type of debt. So what they're gonna do is usually inflate it out. In other words, much money, the money gonna be worth. So when they pay it back, they ain't gonna be worth anything.
Yes.
Destroy the dollar and the economy.
Yes.
So what happened? The American standard of living will be a good 30%. You've already seen it how people are so high. Gasoline, gas, utilities, all livable skyrocketing, and the people can't afford it.
Yes.
So that's
I'm listening to you.
So
go ahead.
Here is that if President Trump comes in, he's in a worse situation coming in than he was when he took over 20. The economy wasn't anywhere bad as it is now. Politics wasn't as worse as it is now.
Yes.
The energy is worse than it was then. You just keep going down of how many things this guy is pushing that he has to face or try to correct. Because the Democrats, the Green Revolution and everything is going to be electric. That's not enough raw materials to do what they said in the time that they want.
Yes.
It's just all craziness. And I think it's going to come to an end in a couple of years between now and 24.
Yes. Yes. And like I said, the banking system. But something, say the dollars that they're giving, you always said these are fiat dollars in it. So it really.
Fiat money, they're not backed by fiat means it's backed by the United States. That's the credit and the faith, but it's not backed. It doesn't have any gold or silver. The currency.
It tell people I want to thank Dr. Lee Warren for being accessible and being a guest on the Underground Railroad television show. And you know what? You should have him on your show. I write an article about him, or your internet show, or your TV show, because he has a wealth of knowledge. And Dr. Lee Warren, I am appreciative, and I would like to ask you, please tell us when your show comes on, and do you have any a message that you want to convey to the individual that may see this, just looking at this personally, and will be looking at this in the future?
The most important thing that you can receive today is receiving the truth. Make you free from all the lies and propaganda out here. That's the first thing you have to realize. If you don't have the truth, you've been badly deceived, and it's like the COVID situation with the vaccination.
We can't even talk about that on YouTube. We can't even talk about that on YouTube because they give me a flag. But go ahead.
See, in those situations with the economy, they tell you the economy is doing great, but it's not. It's worse. But they claim everything is because they can manipulate all these figures and give a view that everything is all right, but everything is good. And that will be proven in the next months. You'll be able to understand what is taking place in the economy. To read no newspaper either. Just keep going to the grocery store and purchase that the US dollar has faced, and your lifestyle or your standard of living will collapse as a result of the inflation that's taking place.
Yes.
You need to know the truth. And our show comes on that's from every Wednesday from 8:30. Every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30 on channel 36, and reshow Thursday. Was it 10:30 to 11:30 on channel 36?
Plus, you come on YouTube too, right? So.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. We're on the internet, not YouTube. So you can find out about us on our Plim website, PLIM, the number 2, C, number that's P2ORG. Now you need the truth, because the world's economy is collapsing.
Yes.
And we get ready to be going, and there's a possibility of a war. But if they keep pushing Russia into a corner, things you must understand.
So you've been listening. What I encourage people that see this podcast presently and in the future to tune in to Dr. Lee Warren and go to all his social media. Plim's social media websites, and support them because they have been working tirelessly for years to get the message out, to wake up people. And I want to do special thanks out to Kennedy King College for helping me to develop in media production. And I'm not what I should be, but hopefully I'll be better. And I'm very appreciative, Dr. Lee Warren, for you. I'm very appreciative. And let me see. I'm gonna put. I'm gonna put their website in the chat room. Okay. PLIM. Thank you, Dr. Warren. .org. Okay, and I want you to go. To their website, and I want you to support them 101%. If you have anything to do with the Underground Railroad, support in their endeavor because they're working and they have all. Him and his wife have always been kind to me, and I've always been appreciative of them. Always. And Dr. Lee Warren, any finishing words? And that's it.
No, that's
I would like to lay it on. I'm talking about probably if we do something Saturday, do something talking about TikTok and talk about TikTok and to talk about Googles and all these things. But I'll try to set up something with you, and they come on. Plum comes on every Thursday. It comes on Thursday. 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. And you know what? I'm going to put that. Their information will be in the description. So if you like this, give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down, and we can take constructive criticism because you know what? This is how we grow. We don't always grow by pats on our back. That helps me to grow. Okay. But Dr. Lee Warren and Dr. Penny Warren, you know what? I want to thank you for accepting the invitation to come on Underground Railroad Podcast. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Take care. So you are looking at the Underground Railroad, and you know what? It's always Assalamu alaikum, and you know what? It's always an honor to have Dr. Lee Warren on and Dr. Penny Warren on because you know what? They have extensive knowledge, and I encourage people that follow my platform to support them because they're working to get the message out to the people, and they have been doing it tirelessly for years. And yeah, that's all I can say. So I'm going to get off. I'm going to say assalamu alaikum to everybody. And people looking at this, hey, Ramadan is coming, Muslims. Okay. Yeah, who knows? It may have been in past when you see this. It's okay. But to say thank you, and we were looking at the similarities between what happened in Cuba. Okay, when they Bay of Pigs and Khrushchev and John Kennedy, and what is going on in the Ukraine with NATO. News from them, and Vladimir Putin and him being wanted on war crimes. And they say he took children, and all this. But thing is, you just don't know. And like I say, but this is an alternative news source. And like I said, you have any good things to say, include me in your prayers. I appreciate that. I'm going to make a donation to the PayPal account is in the description of this, and use vidIQ to help you with keywords when you're writing out the synopsis, writing out what the description of your TV show podcast is going to be out, and it helps you to find keywords that I use, and it can help you gain more subscribers. But it's not magic. No, it's not magic. You have to do the hard work. You have a tool, You got to be able to utilize that tool. And nobody owes you anything. You have to do the hard work. And like I said, this goes towards the Underground Railroad TV show and Share My Media Productions in Chicago. We make television shows and we do films and events for social media. And hey, I can create something like this. What's going on right now for your church, your congregation, your mosque? But it's not free. So I'm gonna tell everybody, give everybody the words assalamu alaikum. And if you like this, give us a thumbs up. If you hate it, give us a thumbs down. If you thought we were telling the truth, let me know. If you thought it was a lie, let me know. Because constructive criticism is how we grow. We don't always grow by pats on the back. Actually, I've learned more from my detractors. Than the individuals that gave me the pat on the back. The pat on the back is good. But if you're doing this and Allah, God is not pleased with you, pat on the back don't mean nothing anyway. So watch Plum Power Laden Man, an Underground Railroad television show, comes on every Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. Central Time. And we come on YouTube, like Clem, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And thank you. Thank you for my professors at Kennedy King College in Chicago at 63rd and hosted in the media production curriculum for giving me knowledge, and to all the people on YouTube that did tutorials on green screen. I want to thank you. It was a struggle. but with struggle comes gain. And the Rode podcaster that I am using, hey, it was worth the money. Daddy said, try to get the best. Don't try to get something that's subpar. Something that, like you said, you end up paying for it 2 times. So I want to thank the people from Rode. They're not a sponsor. I got a Rode microphone. I got a Rode this, and who knew I couldn't afford Sennheiser microphones. But I get what Allah wanted me to get, and that's sufficient. Because all this is temporary anyway, and all this is my work. Just to try to heed the words. So I'm going to say everybody the words. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi barakatuh.